Welcome our channel, dear engineers
and aviators.
Today we will talk about air travel. My friend Captain Yusuf Sencer Gül will help me for this interview, and we will talk about, as I mentioned, air travel. Before we start, please subscribe our channel and
Leave a like, please.
so let's talk about
History of aviation.
yes.
When did it start? Where did it start?
From the very beginning of human being, as you know, everybody tries to fly.
Some did manage to do that, some didn't, actually.
However, most of them lost their lives while they are writing the golden rules of aviation with their blood. Unfortunately, in our geography, Hezarfen Ahmet Çelebi did the first flight.
But in history of aviation, the Wright brothers did the first flight in 1903.
Before that, lighter than air first successful flight did by Montgolfier brothers with the balloon in France.
But I think it's not the first flight. In the modern means of aviation, it's the Wright brothers.
Yes, you are right.
Yeah.
Heavier than air with manned flight is did by
Wright brothers in 1903. Wright brothers were actually bicycle mechanics, and they did some experiments on bikes about aerodynamics. With that experience, they managed to develop a wing wrapping system, and they used it in their most of planes.
And also they are inspired from bicycle chain gear system. They developed engine of the airplane. The fact is, they did the first successful flight with the engine, which means heavier than air.
And this technology, they started a new era, an aviation era, and this make a huge peak and become the greatest advancing technology of our time.
In this significant change, the role of the engineering cannot be underestimated. As you know, neither telephone nor the computer developed or invented a short time like aviation industry. It took only 60 years from the first successful 20-second flight to the first man walk in space by Yuri Gagarin.
You are right in some points, but the world history has a bigger role in this significant change, I think. Like the world wars, civil wars, Cold War, and etc. has really big roles. Like before World War II, there was no runway, nearly no in England, but after World War II, the old aviation techniques started to lose its function, and they need another aviation techniques like new ATC systems and etc. And 9,000 miles of runways constructed again.
So you mentioned that before World Wars and Cold Wars, there was no congestion in airport. You mean, right?
Nearly there was no more than 3 airplanes in a control zone.
Nowadays, the word congested is not enough for this situation. Airspaces, especially airports, are congested and started to become messy.
And this situation leads to a massive air pollution. Do you think is it worth it?
Yes. And no.
Why?
In the beginning of this era, there was lots of uncontrolled air pollution. However, it was for the sake of flying accomplishment. This is huge pollution might be acceptable for that reason. However, nowadays, engineers are working for reducing for the minimum, and this will reduce air pollution for acceptable level.
You are right, but the mankind always thinks that they always do the best thing in their present time. Do you think is this one of them or something different?
Maybe you know, Wilbur Wright told 2 years earlier before their successful flight, not within 1,000 years will mankind will fly. However, after 2 years they did it. So, recently engineers are trying to make major change with minor improvements. With reducing air pollution, engineers are trying to make aviation totally green.
But I think before engineers, firstly we need to plan flight time carefully for reducing the waste of fuel and reduce the ridiculous holding pattern times in air, and which are very harmful for the environment.
Isn't it a problem for air traffic controller and dispatchers? What can engineers do for that situation?
Recently, I read an article about this, which I told you before. It talks about going all green in aviation. It says we need to change the jet engines with electrical engines.
Do we have that technology in our recent time? I mean, with our today's technology, is it enough for lifting aircraft with electrified engine? Or they are trying to reduce the size and power up the engine? I'm confused with that technology. What's the situation?
As you may know, the batteries are getting smaller and smaller, the engines are getting powerful and more powerful. And however, recently we don't have the best technology, we don't have the thing we want, but the most efficient and environmentalist way to do this is hybrid technology, which uses electrical and jet engine together and reduces waste of fuel.
So this is the same technology which we are recently using in the cars, right?
Something like that, but I'm sure it's not the same.
It's good news. So what do you think about fear of flying?
There is no reason to be afraid of flying because it's the safest way of transportation and it's becoming safer with regulations and standardism of airplanes. You know?
But as I remember, there were lots of hijacking in near past. Nowadays, I'm threatened by airport attacking danger. Is there any enforcement about possibility aviation attacking?
Sure, there are. IATA, which is International Air Transport Association, regulations that they made about this, they are very strict about this, and they are being updated and revisioned by regularly, I think yearly. They are very strict and rude about this.
So, I don't need to be frightened about aviation attacking.
Sure, you need to be afraid, but there is little possibility of being of that.
Yeah, I see. And I saw a new design of Airbus flight deck with a new lighting technology which is reducing and helping for flight sickness, especially jet lag.
Yeah, I saw that in an article. It was talking about
Oh,
dark
Mr. Dennis.
windows
Oh.
getting darker.
Wait a minute. There's a breaking news. Breaking news about this.
What
Yes,
is it?
yes.
What is that supposed to be?
So engineers are did it. They put a small engine in the front wheel, so we don't need to waste time in the aircraft. That's a very good news for our pilot life.
Yes, last month I read an article about that. The engineers fitted in a electric engine to the nose wheel, so that we don't need to spend like 10 or 15 minutes in airplane, sometimes 1 hour. That's good news for us. So
Yeah, it will reduce the slot time,
yes, and you don't have to wait for the
so
pushback
which
time.
will also good for airlines and the passengers. They don't need to wait in the airplane,
As
so
soon
which
as
will
you're ready.
reduce the time in the airplane and
And it's very profitable for airlines and other airline companies.
very good news. Very good news. Cheers.
Cheers.
And so
And let's sum up.
let's sum up our today's interview. What did we cover today?
Aviation history, development in aviation history, and how to reduce the air pollution in aviation, and new technologies about air
First of
navigation.
all, you saw how is the peak of aviation in history, especially the technology history in the world.
It's really Apple
We gave an example with telephone,
and computers.
but within 16 years from the zero, they come to the highest level, which is space. As you mentioned, there are lots of benefits from the wars, which are
World wars, Cold wars, civil wars, every war that you.
World War II is very important for civil aviation, but Cold War is very important for space.
Space
Area.
aviation. Yes.
And we mentioned about engineering technology. After that, we move on the sickness and the
To fear and sickness combined.
Engineers are also working for this, but there are very important regulations which are sourced by IATA, which is International
Air
Air
Transport
Transport.
Association.
And then we had a very good news, which is
What?
engineering science achievement about aviation.
They fitted in an electric engine to the nose wheel, so we don't have to wait for pushbacks or any other movement of the airplane on ground.
Which is
The engineers have managed that the nose wheel now has an electric engine which moves the aircraft on ground, so we don't have to wait for pushbacks or something movement on the ground.
which will reduce the time in aircraft and will be also happy for the passengers. Thank you for watching and listening us. My name is Deniz Özçegrek.
My name is Yusuf Sencergil.
Please follow us, subscribe and like our video.